Hi guys, so in this video we'll be talking about how you can find or define your target audience, and that is going to help you in 3 ways. So one is going to help you make sure that the right people are engaging and following you on social media. It's going to help make sure that you're not struggling to figure out what you need to post next. It will help you create like a clear content strategy. And finally, it's also going to help you make sure that you're providing real value to the people that are coming to you on social media, and that way they'll engage and respond or be interested in your content so much more as well. So if you want to find out how you can define your target audience to reach these 3 key goals, then make sure you keep on watching. Also, I share videos like this every 2 weeks, so make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you're interested in hearing more tips like this. So let's get into it. So the key thing that you want to think about when you're talking about finding your target audience, the key word that should always come to mind, or key words, is a buyer persona. So what is a buyer persona? It's basically a semi-fictitious character that outlines the key attributes that the person that you're trying to attract to engage with your content or following you on social media or buy your products and services has. The reason why having a buyer persona is so important is that buyer persona you create is going to be the central point or the go-to for every single piece of content that you create. When you think about like great content that you've seen or content that have gripped you or captivated you, it's all about it's interests you, or there's something about it that has spoken to you. And in the same way, as an influencer, as a content creator, as a marketer, as someone that's trying to grow your personal brand, you want to be clear on the value that you're providing to other people. And to do that, you need to know who you're providing value to. Granted, there is no instance where the value you provide, the content you'll create will apply or everyone will resonate it. So that's why we want to create a buyer persona, so you're being very specific about who the people you're trying to target are, and that way you can target them in a much better way and speak to their problems, sometimes without them even realizing it. So bear with me if you see me looking down at my notes, but I'm going to be talking about all of the things that you need to think about or the questions that you need to answer to create an effective buyer persona. So the first thing you want to look at is the demographic. So that encompasses like the age and the gender, the education level or the income, and then say we give a buyer persona a name. Let's say we call her Lucy. Like, how old is Lucy? How is she a male? Is she female? So thinking about, okay, I'm creating content for this person. She's going to be this age, she's going to be this gender, she's probably maybe a uni student, or she's graduated, or maybe she's been working for a few years now. So getting really specific about thinking about, okay, this is my content, and this is the person that is going to help the most. So starting with demographics, like I said, gender, age, education, and income. Next, we want to look at the behaviors. So granted, from a social media or content creation perspective, if you're trying to grow your platform on social media and use your buyer persona to help you do that, you want to think about, okay, what are their behaviors? What channels do they typically use? Are they on YouTube? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Are they even on Pinterest? So having to think about that, like, where are these people coming from? And what typically interests them in terms of social media. Also thinking about how often they are on social media. What times are they on social media? What do they use social media for? So is it a case where they use it for informational content, educational content, or are they focused on using it to, I guess, grow themselves and their content creation or their platform? So making sure that you're thinking about them when it comes to their behaviors as it relates to social media, as it relates to content. This next one is a really big one when it comes to creating your buyer persona, and it's about looking at the challenges or the pain points or the fears that your buyer persona has. So naturally, all of us as normal human beings, we all have problems, we all have challenges, and the same is true of your buyer persona. Like, it's a normal person. You're creating content for a specific person, and we've given that person a name. So let's say that person is Lucy. So what is Lucy struggling with? Maybe she's struggling with knowing how to eat healthily if you're in the food kind of industry, or if it's hair, she's trying to figure out, okay, how can she learn how to do her natural hair? How can she find like creative hairstyles? So thinking about your buyer persona and thinking about it from their perspective, like, what are their pain points? What are their challenges? And that's going to help you figure out like how you can help them as well. The next one is goals. So naturally, we should all have a goal, whether it's like a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, a 10-year plan. And the same is true for your buyer persona. So let's think about it from Lucy's perspective. So Lucy, let's say Lucy's in college. In the next 5 years, she wants to do this. In the next 1 year, she may want to graduate or start working. Or if she's in the hair industry, she might want to start her own natural hair brand or sell like hair products. So thinking about, okay, what are the goals that my buyer persona is going to have, and how can I help create content that is going to help them even more, or is going to entertain them, or give them tips, or make them laugh, or going to touch onto like a pain point that they're experiencing with their goal. So making sure that you define that in terms of their goals is going to help you massively, because if you're seen as that thought leader that is taking them to the next step, then they're going to want to see what you have to say. They're going to want to engage. They're going to want to hear your tips. So being clear on that is extremely important. So the next one is, what are your buyer persona's interests? So say we're using Lucy as an example. What does Lucy love to do? Like, what does she like to do in her spare time? What makes her happy? Like, what gets her going? So we're using Lucy as an example. So say Lucy has an interest in trying out new hairstyles. You might want to create content about how you created a new hairstyle, and the products that you use, and how you have tips to kind of reduce the amount of time that it takes to go through your wash day as a natural hair girl. So looking at it from their perspective, what are their interests, and thinking about how can you create content from that. So we've spoken about what your buyer persona needs to include, like what it should look like. Now we're going to talk about how you can practically create one. So what questions do you need to ask? Where do you need to go to make sure that you create a clear and concise buyer persona? Because like we said, this buyer persona is going to inform all of the content that you create. So it needs to be accurate. It needs to be clear. It needs to represent accurately who your customers are. So the first thing I'll say is start with your business model canvas or your value proposition. So if you haven't seen the video where I spoke about how to create a business model canvas, then make sure you check that out. And that is basically mapping out all of the key elements that you need to think about when creating or trying to grow a personal brand, or even growing on social media. And one of the key things that it mentions is having a value proposition. So your value proposition speaks about what value you're adding to your customers or the people that are going to be buying into your content. So the reason you want to look at your business model canvas and your value proposition is because looking at those value added activities is really going to help clarify what the interests of your buyer personas are. So for example, with my business model canvas, I create content for people that are interested in learning how to sew. So in my buyer persona is going to include this person loves sewing as an interest, or this person is trying to maybe even grow or start their own clothing line, or to sell items online like Vinted or on Depop, for example. So looking at what the value added activities you have are, and that should naturally help define who your buyer persona should be. The next thing I'll say is you can ask people that are already engaging with your content, or if it's a case where there's customers, you can ask the people that are already customers as well. So doing that is going to help you get like a raw, authentic kind of view of like what their interests are. And one way to do that is even to use like social media polls. So say you're on Instagram, you can do like a social media poll on Instagram. You can even do polls or voting on like YouTube now. So ask people like what kind of content they want to see from you. Ask for like tips or tricks, or even like simply don't be scared of the DM. Sending someone a DM if they're interested or if they engage with your content on a regular basis, and asking them, look, I'm trying to help people that are following me. Like, what content would you want to see that could help you? So even that could be an approach to helping you define who your buyer persona is as well. So the next thing is looking at your analytics. So granted, I shared this in my business model canvas video. So again, check that out if you haven't. But when creating or content on social media, on whatever platform you're on, naturally there should be like social media analytics that you can look at that should help kind of inform who your buyer persona is or your target audience is. So it will show you the people that are currently coming onto your platform, the people that are currently engaging with your content, and that should kind of give you a clearer indication of who is interested in what you have to share, and then you can go forward in adding like those characteristics into your buyer persona map as well. So I'm doing a demo to show where you can find information about your audience in YouTube. So I've gone into YouTube Studio and Analytics, and I'm going to select where it says last 28 days to show me lifetime. And that is going to show me my audience as I click on it since I started my YouTube channel. So from this view, I can see an overview in terms of the audience of the people that have been watching my YouTube videos, and scrolling down I can see like their locations, so the UK, Jamaica, other places. I can see the age and the gender as well, and this is going to give me a bit of a quick overview into who my audience is. And if I scroll up, I can click on see more, and this is going to give me a deeper dive into my audience. So from the content section, I can see the videos that have performed the best. So that's something that you can look at. Mainly, I'm going to focus on the other elements, starting with traffic source. So in the traffic source section, I can see where people have come from to end up watching my YouTube videos. So whether that's through my notifications or YouTube search or shorts feeds. I can also see external traffic as well. So that's going to show me where people have come from outside of YouTube to come onto YouTube to watch my video. You can see that quite a lot of the people coming to my YouTube channel have come from Pinterest or have come from Instagram and WhatsApp. So I can see that which traffic sources are working, but I can also see that my target audience, they are on Pinterest because that's where they're coming from. That's a great thing that I can add into my buyer persona in terms of the social media platform that they use. From the geography section, I can see the locations that people have in terms of who is watching my video and where they're watching it from. I've filtered it based on watch time, so that's going to show me specifically the location of the people that are actually watching and engaging with my content. Cities would give you a deeper dive, but I'm just going to skip over that and go to age. And from age, so this is a big indication of the type of audience that you have in terms of their age group, because that's going to impact their interests and so on. So from my view, I can see that 25 to 34 is where the majority of my views and my watch time is coming from. So that means that the content that I create should be applicable to that age group, as well as the other popular age groups that I've seen as well. So I can see that 25 to 34 is close to the percentage for 18 to 24 as well. So that's a good indication of what I should look at. Again, I've looked at my audience in terms of gender. I know typically my audience is female, but it's great to have an idea of who your gender is. I can also use the filter section. So if I want to change the time range from being lifetime to a custom date range, or if I want to change it to be for the last 365 days, I can do that as well. And I can even add a filter to show me the audience details for my subscribed audience versus seeing everyone, so subscribed and unsubscribed. So that's a good indication of seeing who your subscribed audience is versus the people that aren't yet subscribed, but they're engaging with your content, so you want them to subscribe. So what I'd say is look at the social media analytics tools that you have, or the insights that you have, say YouTube or Pinterest or Instagram, for example, but don't let it be the all and be all in terms of you looking for answers when it comes to your buyer personas, because there are instances where you might have a following or your following is growing, but because you haven't defined your buyer persona up to this point, then the insights might not be a clear indication of the people that you are trying to target. So be sure to look at it from the perspective of these are the people that are currently following me or engaging with my content. Like this is their age, this is where they're from, this is the content that they engage with the most. And granted, that should help inform that the content that you create going forward to an extent, but also make sure that we're going back to the starting point. We're thinking about this is who I'm trying to target. These are their interests. This is what they look like. So it might be a case that at the moment, the people that are following you are not the people that you want to target going forward. So bear that in mind as well when you're looking at the analytics. Another key place to look is by looking at online communities. And for me, that's sometimes just a case of looking at people that I would deem as, I don't want to say competitors, but people that are in my space of content creation, creating the similar content to what I'm interested in. So say I create sewing tutorials, I'll be looking at someone on Instagram or YouTube that creates sewing tutorials as well. I'll be looking at the people that engage with their content. I'll be looking at the type of content that they create. I'll be looking at the content on their platform that does really well. And that for me is going to be an indication of if this person is trying to target the same people that I'm trying to target, then the people or the content that interests them is likely going to interest the people that are coming onto my page as well. So last tip I'm going to share is in terms of how to create a buyer persona is you can use ChatGPT. So if you're a marketer, if you're a content creator, if you're just online, you've probably heard about ChatGPT at this point. And it's an automation tool that you can use to give you that answers on different things. But you can also use it to create a buyer persona. And I'm going to show you how you can do that as well. So to start, I've come into Google and I'm going to search for AIPRM for ChatGPT. And this is the extension that we're going to add as a plugin that is going to allow us to create a buyer persona. Once I've added the extension, I can log into ChatGPT and then it will show me a screen of prompts that I can use. So I'm going to scroll down and I'll see a prompt with the name Buyer Persona Legend. And this is what we're going to use to create our template. Once I've clicked on the prompt, it's asked me the question of what does your business sell? And where are your clients? So I'm going to add in as much information in this section as possible to make sure that it gives me accurate results. Granted, if you have your business model canvas, you can use that as a reference to know what details or what information you can put into this prompt section to make it so much easier to create your buyer persona. So once you put in the information, it will give you a thorough kind of breakdown of what your buyer persona could look like. What I'll say is, granted, you can use this and it breaks it down in sections in terms of the demographics and the shopping behavior and etc. So you can use this as a starting point, but that doesn't negate the need to do the other research as well. So asking those questions, following the other tips that were mentioned to make sure that your buyer persona is accurate. And granted, I'll use this as kind of a reference point to create a buyer persona. So granted, you can download this document or copy it, put it in Word, tweak it a bit to make sure that it fits your specific buyer persona, or you can create a buyer persona, and I'm going to do that using a Canva template. So I'm going to set up the template, show you guys where I go to access it, and then that way you guys can use it for yourself as well. So we're in Canva, and as you can see, I've searched buyer persona and there's loads and loads of templates that you can use as a basis. I'm going to select the one that I want to customize, and I'm just going to go ahead and customize it so it suits my brand colors. What I will do, like I said, I will make sure to edit this, put the link in the description so you can use this as a template, and it will simply be a case of referencing the ChatGPT buyer persona that was created, referencing like the analytical tools that I've used, referencing the other questions that have been mentioned to make sure that we create a very clear and concise buyer persona. I'm not going to share my buyer persona on screen, but granted, you can use this as a resource to help you. So in customizing this buyer persona template, I have put in like the key elements or questions that you'd need to answer to make this buyer persona work for you in terms of the key questions and like the pain points, the behaviors, the goals and the interests, so that you can simply come in and replace the questions with the answers in terms of who your buyer persona is. So hopefully that helps there. And then once you've edited it and filled it out, you should have a clear buyer persona that you can use for your content going forward. So that is it for this video, guys. Let me know if you found these tips helpful. Let me know how it goes in terms of creating a buyer persona. If you're thinking about creating one, if you're going to create one, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and tap the bell, because that's really going to help us. I'm currently on a goal of 500 subscribers, so make sure you subscribe to help us get there. And make sure that you check out this business model canvas video as well if you're trying to grow your personal brand, and figure out the next steps in terms of like just creating an overall map and having a clear strategy for growing your personal brand or improving your presence on social media or creating content online as well. So I'll see you over there. Bye guys.